Did you
Sir,
study statistics? Huh?
it's the introduction, sir, like the first chapter itself. So mostly it's
So
basics.
how to characterize the data? Intervals, open interval, closed interval,
That part not yet studied, sir. Like it's mostly
frequency, bivariate
for
frequency, univariate frequency. So Manipur is up. Arunachal Pradesh, 2 are missing. Lokam and Togbom. Pura is also up. Okay. So 1 more minute and we start. So all the girls are now present, all 6. Good morning, Sushana. "14 students. Okay. So good morning, everyone. So this is class 8 of Macroeconomics 1. In the last class, we discussed about the national income accounting, that is estimation of the national product or national output using the value-added method or output method or product method. And we also discussed what needs to be included or what needs to be excluded, and we through an example. So we will today discuss about the estimation of the national product using the income method. Okay, so I'm now sharing this screen. So if everyone can see.
Yes,
Is
sir.
it visible? Okay.
yes, yes, sir.
Has your business environment class started?
No, sir.
Okay. Computer applications?
No, sir.
So Arts sir and ma'am, Jugal sir and ma'am using this this blackboard or something like that, whiteboard. Huh?
No, sir. Like surgical uses this screen, like he shows the PDF, but ma'am teaches just by audio.
So today we will be, so we have already discussed about this value-added method of national income accounting. Sorry, it is not national income method. This is now enter Mizoram is up. Okay, so national income accounting, we have studied value-added method. We will be studying out the income flow method. So income flow method is nothing but summation of all incomes of factors of production at market at factor cost. Okay, so that will give you the national income or the national output at factor cost. So this summation of incomes of factors of production at factor cost, which is whereby we are using the income flow method to estimate the national income or the national output, will also be equal to the national output, that is GNP or GDP, at market price, provided the economy is without any government that collects indirect taxes. Okay. So an economy that is without any government that collects indirect taxes, in that case, the summation of all incomes of factors of production at factor cost will be equal to the national income or national output at market price. But when the government collects indirect taxes, that is those GST or VAT, then in that situation, the summation of all incomes of factors of production at factor cost will not be equal to the national output or national income, national output, that is GDP or GNP at market price. So keep this thing in mind. So now, what are the incomes do we need to include? So we need to include the income from land. So what is the income from land? Peter, what is the income from land? Peter,
Yes,
what
sir.
is the income from land? Tridit, what is the income from land?
So rent.
Okay. Suraj, what is the income from labor? What is the income from labor, Suraj? Wages. What is the income from physical and intellectual capital? So intellectual capital, the income which you receive is basically a royalty. Okay. So what is it? Interest oblique royalty. So royalty is a form of a rent for your intellectual capital. So for physical capital, you receive interest. Physical or even financial capital. Physical, financial capital. Okay. Fine. Now, income from entrepreneurship. So, Cindy, what is the income from entrepreneurship? What is the income from entrepreneurship? Cindy?
I don't know, sir.
Why? We have been discussing it for so many classes. Profits. It is evident that you people are not studying. Very good. Up to you. Now, so these are the four categories of income. Income from land, rent. Okay. Income from labor, wages. Income from physical and financial and intellectual capital, that is interest, oblique royalty. So royalty for intellectual capital. Income from physical and financial, we get your interest. Not financial, but not physical, but financial. Okay. Wages, financial. So financially receive interest, intellectually receive royalty. Income from entrepreneurship, profits. So all these are measured at factor cost. So that is not equal to the market price. Okay, market price of goods and services. Now we can this is what we add. So we add all this and we get the national output at factor cost by the income flow method. So this is the flow of income to all the factors of production that are involved in the production process of goods and services. So in return for production goods and services, they receive the incomes in this form, which are then added up at factor cost to receive the national output or the national product at factor cost. Now we have got what we have now got here: wages and compensation for labor, okay, plus rent, plus interests, plus dividends, which is the distributed profit, plus undistributed profits, okay, plus corporate tax, okay, plus there are some mixed income. So what is this mixed income? Mixed income is let's say, let us take the example of a farmer. Okay. So a farmer is cultivating his land, he is earning income. Fine. He is earning income as a farmer. At the same point of time, he also teaches at a school. So his income is coming from two sectors: primary sector, agriculture, and tertiary sector, education service. See, in all those cases, we consider those incomes as mixed income. Okay. So all this is giving me, but all this is giving me net domestic product at factor cost. Okay. So this is giving me the net domestic product at factor cost. Next. Now to it, you have to add NDP, net domestic product at factor cost, plus net factor income from abroad. That will give me what? That will give me net national product at factor cost. Now, net national product at factor cost plus depreciation cost. So this gives me what? This gives me GNP at factor cost. Now GNP at factor cost plus indirect taxes. So I should write this as net indirect taxes, net indirect taxes, which are nothing but your business taxes. That gives me what? GNP at market price. Okay. So first, if you see here, all these income, that is wages and compensation plus rent plus interest plus dividends plus undistributed profits plus corporate tax, which, so these three components, dividends plus undistributed profits plus corporate tax, this forms the profit ratio. Okay. Plus mixed income. So this is distributed amongst different days. So it can be distributed in the form of wages as a labor. It can be distributed as a royalty because you might be working as a consultant. It might also be distributed in the form of entrepreneurship because you're also, as a farmer, you're also working as an entrepreneur. So profit. So this comes under mixed income. That gives me the net domestic product at factor cost. Now once we get that, so we add net factor income from abroad to net domestic product factor cost to get the net national product at factor cost. Now to net national product at factor cost, we add the depreciation cost because of wear and tear of the capital and machinery. That gives me GNP at factor cost. To GNP at factor cost, we add the net indirect taxes to get the GNP at the market price. Okay. Now, what are the inclusions or exclusions that need to be made in case of your national output or product that we're estimating using the income flow method? So what are the inclusions? So first inclusion is your imputed income. So if you're using your own house, so you need to impute the rent of that house which you're giving to yourself, because you're staying in your own house, imputed income. Then self-consumption, same as your value-added method. So you are using your labor, okay? You are using your labor to produce goods and services that you consume on your own, so self-consumption. Then also we need to add the personal taxes that we pay to the government. So these are the three components that needs to be included to the national product that is being estimated using the income flow method to get the national product or output at market price. Okay, so these are the inclusions. What are the exclusion? So exclusion is a transfer incomes. So the income which you receive, for which you are not getting any, for which you are not providing any goods and services. B, any illegal incomes. Okay, that means which is unaccounted. C, do it yourself activities. Okay, then D, other taxes. So apart from personal income tax, other taxes that needs to be excluded. E, old goods or used goods. So these components needs to be excluded from the national output or product that we get or that we calculate using the income flow method. Fine. Now next we come to the expenditure method. Okay, expenditure method of national income accounting. So what will we do? So here we will be summing up all expenditures produced, all expenditures on goods and services produced in an economy in a given time period. Okay, summing up all expenditures on goods and services produced in an economy in a given time period. So what are those what are those different categories of expenditure? Consumption expenditure. Okay. So expenditure on toothpaste, food materials, cosmetics, toiletries, whatever you buy for your daily consumption, and as well as essential commodities which you require for maintaining your lifestyle, that are produced in an economy in a given time period, that is in the financial year 2021, will be included under consumption expenditure. Okay. Then comes your investment expenditure. So the expenditure on machinery and equipment that are produced in a given year for increasing the production capacity of the economy will be counted on investment expenditure. Sometimes investment expenditure also includes one more component, which is your inventory investment. Okay. So inventory investment means those surplus or those unsold goods and services which you are stocking up in your godown or warehouse for sale later on. So when you are stocking up these excess goods and services, it is itself a form of an investment expenditure which you are making for future benefits. Okay. So inventory investment also includes the stocking up of raw materials or intermediate goods that are used further and processed for producing other finished goods or products. Fine. 3. Government expenditure. So government expenditure on goods and services, that is the government, the money which it is spending for maintaining law and order, administrative services, health, education, infrastructure, that is the roads and other infrastructure that are being built in a given financial year. Okay. Then then this expenditure which it is making for providing this public distribution. Okay, so it is procuring agricultural products from farmers, so that also is included under government expenditure, provided those products, that is goods and services, are being produced within a given financial year. Okay. Next comes your net exports. Okay, which is nothing but X, that is gross exports, minus M, which is gross imports. So X minus M stands for net exports. Why net exports we are considering? Why not gross exports? Because for all these three components, that is consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, and government expenditure, also includes expenditure on goods and services that are not produced, let's say in India, but they're produced abroad. So consumption expenditure, investment expenditure, and government expenditure, part of all these expenditures contains expenditure on goods and services that are produced abroad. So when you adjust for the expenditure on goods and services that are produced abroad in a given financial year, you deduct that entire expenditure from all these three components, that is consumption, investment, and government, in the form of exports, in the form of imports. So all this expenditure on goods and services produced abroad in terms of consumption, investment, and government are deducted as imports from the gross exports to get the net exports expenditure on goods and services by the foreigners that is produced in India in a given time period, which is a given financial year. Okay. So summing up of all these expenditures will give me what? It will give me the national product at market price. Okay. National product at market price, because we are selling this at market price. We are no more purchasing this at factor cost. Fine. So this is giving me what? This is giving me the national product. So here national product we are understanding as what? GDP. Okay. So that gives me the GDP at market price. Done. Now to this GDP at market price, you will now be deducting your depreciation cost, because investment expenditure also includes expenditure for maintenance, for wear and tear. Depreciation cost, that gives me what? That gives me NDP at market price. Now from NDP at market price, if I deduct the net indirect taxes, that gives me what? That gives me net domestic product at factor cost. Fine. Now, from net domestic product, at factor cost. So this is the net domestic product at factor cost. Now to it, if you are adding net factor income from abroad, then you get what? You get the net national product at factor cost. Okay. So first, you add up all these expenditures, that gives you the GDP at market price. From GDP at market price, you deduct the depreciation cost, that gives you the NDP, that is a net domestic product at market price. From net domestic product at market price, you deduct the net indirect taxes, that gives you the net domestic product at factor cost. And to net domestic product at factor cost, if you add the net factor income from abroad, you get the net national product at factor cost. So which is being received by the factors of production of Indian origin or of a given natural origin, who are supplying their factors for production of goods and services both within the country and abroad. Okay. So we have to make certain exclusions from this estimation process. So what are the exclusions? We cannot count the value of the old goods in which transaction takes place, which I've already mentioned yesterday while discussing the value added method, number one. Number two, we cannot include the value of the existing financial assets like shares, bonds, which were already issued in the previous years. Financial assets. See, what is the third A? We cannot include the transfer expenditures. That means the expenditure in exchange of which we are not getting any goods and services in return. That is like gifts, donations, etc., etc. And to avoid double counting, expenditure on intermediate goods. Okay. So these are the exclusions we need to follow while estimating the national product or output using the expenditure method. Now, what are the difficulties in measuring GNP, GDP? So the first difficulty in measuring GNP and GDP is non-market transactions. Tridit, can you give an example of non-market transaction?
Sir, gambling revenue.
Sir,
gambling revenue, like the illegal incomes.
For that also there is a market. Let's say you're teaching Taekwondo to Lokam. Is he paying you?
No.
So is it a market transaction or a non-market transaction?
Non-market transaction.
Let's say you're going to a Taekwondo academy and there is a trainer who is being paid for training you in Taekwondo. So is it a market transaction or a non-market transaction?
Market transaction.
So now you understand the difference?
Yes. Sir, that means like we can give an example of subsistence agriculture also.
Yes. Subsistence agriculture also, where labor is involved or other goods and services involved, that is also included under non-market transactions.
Yeah.
So any production of goods and services that is not sold in any form in the market or exchange in the market comes under the category of non-market transactions. Okay. Let's say Suraj is explaining national income accounting to Thokcham. Okay. I am explaining national income accounting to Thokcham, and Suraj is explaining national income accounting to Thokcham. So when I am explaining national income accounting to Thokcham, I get paid for teaching. That's a market transaction. But Suraj explaining national income accounting to Thokcham will not be counted as a market transaction but a non-market transaction. Unless and until Thokcham pays, let's say in terms of Cadbury or some treat, that is a different thing. But unless and until it does that, it will be considered as a non-market transaction. Okay. So in case of non-market transaction, where you are also providing goods and services similar to that, what happens in case of market transaction, then the difficulties arise that how can we measure or how can we assess the value of goods and services not exchanged for or transacted in the market. Okay, not transacted in the market. So that is where the challenges comes, because for a country like India, this extent or the quantum of this non-market transaction is pretty huge. It's pretty big, especially in the rural part of the country and also in some urban segments. This is quite a huge component of overall transactions that are carried out, economic transactions. Understand this thing, economic transactions does not necessarily mean that it is a market transaction. Okay, so it is not necessary that all the transactions that are non-market, all the transactions have to be market transactions. So any economic activity or economic transaction for which is not exchanged or transacted in the market comes under the purview of non-market transactions. So it is very difficult. So what we do, we make some sort of a guesswork. Okay, so guesswork we made that what is the extent after making some survey of certain areas in the country or certain segments in the country. Then we make an estimate and then we value those goods and services, estimated non-market value of goods and services using the market price, and then we add it to the GDP. But that is a very approximate figure and that is not a very pinpoint or a perfect figure. What is the second problem? Treatment of final goods. Let us take example of Peter. So Peter buys rice from the market. So if Peter is preparing, cooking that rice and eating himself, then we will consider the market value of the rice at which Peter buys it from the market as the value of the amount of rice bought by Peter. Okay, as final good under the value added method. But now let us consider that Peter uses, instead of consuming that entire amount of rice which Peter has bought from the market, Peter decides to convert part of that rice into rice noodles. Then in that situation, part of the rice which is consumed by Peter as rice itself after cooking it will be considered under the category of final goods. Whereas part of the rice which is used by Peter and processed further into rice noodles, that will not be considered as a final, that component of rice will not be considered as a final good or a product, but it will be considered as a intermediate good or product. So when we are using this value added method, we will exclude the value of that component of rice which has gone into the processing of rice noodles. Okay. So there arises the dilemma of final consumption versus intermediate goods. Okay. Next what? Next is treatment of government activities. So whatever goods and services are being produced or being supplied by the government, do you buy it from the government? Do you buy all those goods and services? I'm not saying any goods and services, but do you buy all those goods and services at market price? No. You don't buy the maintenance of law and order, or you don't pay for police service, you don't pay for administration service, you don't pay for free education or free health services, or for the village roads. Okay, you pay for some of them. Let's say you pay for railways, you pay for the bus transport, you pay for tolls on expressways or highways, but you don't pay for all the goods and services that are produced or supplied by the government. So part of the government goods and services which are not sold in the market or which are not buying from the government in any way. So how do you treat the value of those goods and services? So those value of goods and services are being valued at factor cost. That means you're employing police, you're employing doctors, teachers, okay, and you're paying them wages at factor cost. So the value of goods and services which are provided by the doctors, police, administrative clerks, officers, and teachers, etc., will be valued at the factor cost, but not at the market price. Okay. One way by which we can address is that we can use an imputed value. That means if similar such values are being provided by the public sector, that is education, health, and to some extent security services, at the market price, then we can use this market price to convert the value of goods and services provided by the government at factor cost to its market equivalent. Okay, market price equivalent. So this is one way by which we can address this problem. What is the next issue? Next issue is this: treatment of income generated in the country by foreign firms. So in this situation, what is happening, as I've already said, there may be certain foreign firms which are operating in India and producing goods and services. So they are employing the domestic factors of production as well as foreign factors of production, that is intellectual capital, financial capital. Then there may be certain specialists or certain experts from abroad who are working in India and producing goods and services in India. So the income that is generated in the country by foreign firms, that is income that is generated in India by the foreign firms, will be included in the GDP of India. Okay, but when we'll be calculating the GNP, or the gross national product, then part of the income which is accruing or which is being earned by the foreign factors of production that are involved in the production of goods and services in India will be excluded, because they are foreign nationals and those are foreign factors of production. So we cannot include their income in the GNP of India. We can include their income in the GDP of India, but we cannot include their income in the GNP of India. So these are certain difficulties which we face in estimation of national product or output. So some more problems. So what are the other problems faced? Lack of reliable information, because not all the transactions, even if they're happening in the market, are recorded or noted down properly. Then, as Tridit mentioned, illegal transactions. So if you have a huge underground economy or black economy, which is also a characteristic of an emerging economy like India, then it also becomes to estimate the GNP or GDP accurately. Okay. Then lack of clear-cut categorization of economic activities. So I'm also working as a teacher and I'm also running a business firm. Okay. I'm also working as a teacher, so I will be paid wages and compensation, but I'm also running a business firm, so I'm also earning profits. So there is very blurred categorization of economic activities that I'm involved in. Okay, so in that case, my income will be categorized under mixed income category. So this is from the employment perspective. Now from the income perspective. So I can also be involved. I can also be involved in fishing. So I have a pond. I'm involved in fishing activities, and at the same point of time, I am also having a manufacturing unit for garments. Okay, so I'm a garment manufacturing firm, and at the same point of time, I am also having a fishing activity in my pond. So that means I'm involved in two sectors: primary sector as well as secondary sector. And at the same point of time, I'm also running a consultancy firm. So I'm providing services which is involved in tertiary sector. So the income that is being generated by me by supplying my factors of production are spread across all the three sectors. So as far as I'm concerned, so it is difficult to categorize me in a clear-cut way in any of these economic activities, that is either as an entrepreneur or as a labor, or let's say as a supplier of capital, machinery and equipment for running a firm, and also in the sectors that I'm involved in: primary sector, secondary sector, and tertiary sector. So these are the challenges which we face. So in that situation, we categorize such incomes under mixed income. Okay. What is the next problem? Informal sector. So informal sector, those sectors which are not registered. Okay. Which are not registered. So there is a huge informal sector in the economy. So if you're buying, let's say, certain clothes, so you can go to Pantaloons, you can buy the branded products, or you can go to the high street, and you can buy directly from the pavement. So the products that are being sold in Pantaloons, those are coming from the formal sector, registered sector, because there's a brand, it is properly registered, all the activities are properly recorded. But informal sector, where the goods which you get basically from the pavement or from the street, they are not properly recorded. So they are the output coming from the informal sector and unorganized sector. So in India, more than 80% of the workforce who are employed in the unorganized sector. So in such a situation, you can only make at best a guesswork for estimating the income that is being generated in an informal sector. So most of our agricultural sector is an informal sector. A large part of our secondary as well as a tertiary sector is also informal sector, is also included in the informal sector. So estimating the income generated in the informal sector and the unorganized sector is a very difficult task. We only make a guesstimate, that is an estimation based on our guesswork. It is not perfect or accurate. So in such a situation, it is very difficult if a large part of the economic activities are carried out in the informal sector. What next comes here? In a country like India, we don't have separate consumption data. Okay, we don't have separate consumption data because it's not being properly recorded. That is, you're consuming under which category, under investment category, or let's say under your daily consumption category. So as we don't maintain a proper consumption data, so it is difficult to estimate the national product or output in India using the expenditure method. Then what is the last problem? So these are the problems which we face. Okay. these are some of the problems which you're facing in estimation of our product. Okay, so I stop here today. I'll be sharing this class with you. So any questions, you can put it to me, so that will not be an issue. Tridi, Peter, England. Okay, so thank you, and get ready for the statistics class by Jugal sir. Okay, so see you in the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.